So far we had a look at the general setup, but we got one major new thing here, this .view file, which seems to be important. In one of the earlier videos, I was talking about so-called single file templates, which basically means we have a special kind of file which gets compiled during the build process so that we can ship compiled code to the browser, so that we don't have to use the L-ref or the L property to have our HTML code converted to a template, so that we don't have to use the template property to create a string template, but that we have a third option, which we will learn about now, which allows us to outsource our template and our Vue.js code in separate files, which will get compiled to normal JavaScript, therefore are able to run natively in the browser. You can compile any template, any HTML code to JavaScript in the end, because there are JavaScript object representations of your HTML elements. And that is how we want to build our applications, to first don't have to ship the compiler when deploying our app. That reduces the file size of the Vue.js package by 30%, as you learned earlier. And second, to unlock some features which are not possible to be used in the native DOM if we were to use the native DOM as our template, because there some limitations apply which don't apply when having our JavaScript compile template. So enough of the talking, what do we have here? We have the main.js file, and that will be the first file which gets executed when the bundle here gets loaded in the index.html file. Now all what's happening here is that we create a new Vue instance here, and we import Vue from the Vue folder. So that is how we have access to Vue.js and can create our new instance here. Then we select the element with the app here, with the app selector, so this element. And I was just saying that we don't need the L property anymore. Well, we needed to select a place where we want to load our Vue app, but we don't use it to then infer a template. Instead, by using this new property here, this new function to be precise, this render function, we haven't seen that before, we're telling Vue.js, well, take this place in the DOM specified with the L property, but don't infer the template. Instead, as with template, where we also would provide another template to override this place in the DOM. Instead here, override it with this code we render here. Now that is an ES6 function, an arrow function, where h is the argument, which actually seems to be a function we then execute. This is provided by Vue.js, so Vue.js executes the render function and automatically passes us another function in there, the one we capture here with h, which we then execute. And this function takes a template, a Vue.js template, to be rendered. So all we need to know here is that this function will automatically render a certain template in the place of this selector, so where we select our Vue instance to be run at. Like template, but here we're not specifying a template as a string, but as a compiled template, so to say. Now, what we load here when running this h function, which seems to be responsible for rendering it, is our app from the app.vue file. Now, what's inside this app.vue file? Here is our actual Vue application. And Vue files, .vue files, always follow this structure. We got a template at the top, enclosed by template tags. Then we got a script holding our Vue.js code for this template, so like a new Vue instance kind of. And indeed, we do have a data field here too, though it looks a bit different. I'll come back to this. And then we got some possible styling we want to use. Now, you don't have to specify styles. You definitely do have to specify a template though, because we need something to be displayed. And actually, we can replace all of that here inside this app and instead say h1 hello world, like this. Now, regarding this name here, you can simply get rid of that. It's not related to this div ID app here. You can also get rid of that. It will work like this. And what's now happening here is that we now have our template, which only says hello world, with some data, which we can also remove for now. I will come back to the data thing here when talking about components in the next section. And even though we now only export an empty object, what we do behind the scenes is this will compile to JavaScript code where we have a connection between template and our Vue instance, even though we don't specify any options there. And then we can import it here and render it. And if we don't have any options here in the object, we still have a template to get rendered, right? So now I'm also removing here my styles. And with this in place, all I need to do is save it. And then if we run npm run dev again, or if you still had it running, it will automatically recompile actually, so you don't need to rerun it. Then if we head over to our localhost, we see hello world. So this still works. Now I'm going to dive deeper into these Vue files and how we can use them as, well, actually components in our application in the next module when we dive into components. For now, I want to know you, a Vue file has a template, has a script, and it might have a style. Now with these three parts here, template, script, and style, we got a valid Vue file, a so-called single file template, where we outsource the template and script logic in a separate file. And the important thing is, in our build process with Webpack, this will get compiled to JavaScript code, which is why we can then render it here. Render basically just means override the content selected here with the element. So it will render it here. It would replace everything which is inside of this app here. And with that, we are able to now use this and have our compile template stripping out the compiler of the package we're shipping to the deployment server. That was a lot of talking about that, but it's key to understand how these single files here work. We will see them in action in the next module when we dive deeper into components.